The following presentation from Oldcastle Architectural is designed to educate employees in best safety practices. Throughout the course of the presentation, there are several instances where employees are engaged in unsafe activities and/or not wearing proper personal protective equipment. These scenes will be discussed at the end of the presentation. Oldcastle Architectural is committed to a safe workplace in all of its locations for all of its employees. This requires a complete awareness of and total attention to safe practices by every employee at all times. Our plants are designed with safety in mind and are constantly reviewed to eliminate unsafe features and work practices by our safety engineers as well as those of our insurance carrier. It is also part of every employee's job to be a safety advocate and point out safety hazards or unsafe acts before an accident happens. This safety video for concrete block plants represents another tool made available by Oldcastle to increase safety awareness and educate its employees in best safety practices. While this video is not all-inclusive, it will provide a broad primer geared specifically to our block plant operations. Remember, no list of rules can encompass every possible dangerous situation. These rules are not intended to be a substitute for common sense. Safety first, last, and always. Oldcastle is proud of its safety record and wants to continue to make working conditions as safe as possible. It is the responsibility of each individual to make our safety program really work. Safety on the job is absolutely vital to efficient business. We comply in both the letter and spirit of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA, passed by the federal government. Safety is an important part of your job. Each employee must know the hazards of his or her job. Know and apply safe working practices in performing their job. Promptly advise the supervisor of any unsafe conditions or equipment. To be safe and efficient, a workplace must be clean and orderly. Materials, tools, and other equipment should be kept out of aisles, off machinery, and be properly stored when not in use. Many slips, trips, and falls occur because debris, oil, water, or other materials have been spilled on the floor and have not been cleaned up. Protect yourself and others by cleaning up spills immediately. If you see trash, debris, or banding on the ground, then pick it up and dispose of it correctly. When stockpiling material, keep a solid, smooth base. Arrange the material in vertically straight, neat rows and be sure that all materials are stacked to a safe height. Do not stack materials within 3 feet of light fixtures or sprinklers. Do not block firefighting or first aid equipment, aisles, or exits. Lifting is an everyday occurrence on the job. Use a common sense approach. To avoid injury when lifting or handling materials, follow these simple rules. Size up the job. Is it too big, too long, too heavy, or awkward? Do you need help? If so, get help or use a hand truck. Pick a path to your destination ahead of time. When lifting with another person, plan in advance what each is to do. Avoid sudden or unexpected moves, and communicate with one another. If you are lifting by yourself, use your legs, not your back. Stand close to the load with feet apart and your knees bent. Get a firm grip. Keep your back as straight as possible. Lift slowly and let your muscles do the work. Avoid jerking or sudden movement. Don't twist or bend at the waist. And in all cases, don't hesitate to ask for help. Practical jokes, pranks, or interference with a person performing their job are not permitted. Such actions can and do cause serious injury. Before starting your job, familiarize yourself with the exit doors in your work area in case of an emergency. Exits must not be blocked at any time, and passageways leading to the exit must be kept clear. Make sure exit signs are properly lit and clearly visible. Unless specifically authorized to do so, do not attempt electrical repairs. Treat all electric wires as live. Do not touch any loose or dangling wires and immediately report them to your supervisor or maintenance personnel. Do not use portable electric tools if your hands are wet or if you are standing on a wet surface. Never use compressed oxygen, acetylene, or other bottled industrial gases in any way other than the work for which they are intended. Open valves slowly and without force. When not in use, turn the valves completely off and bleed any lines that may be connected to the tanks. Do not store, transport, or move cylinders in a horizontal position. Move them by dolly, cylinder truck, or other equipment designed for this purpose. Keep full and empty cylinders upright and firmly strapped, chained, or pinned at all times. The protective cap over the valve should be securely in place when the cylinder is not in use and prior to being moved. When in storage, oxygen and acetylene tanks must be separated by at least 25 feet or by a non-combustible barrier at least 5 feet high with a fire-resistant rating of at least 1/2 hour. Only authorized employees are permitted to do welding and cutting. Welders are required to wear shaded number 2 safety glasses under their welding helmet. This provides the welder with protection against flash burns when the helmet is raised. Do not weld or cut near flammable or combustible materials and never lay aside a burning torch. Inspect all ladders before use and immediately report any that are found to be defective. If one is defective, tag the ladder as such until it can be either fixed or properly disposed of. When using a ladder, do not overreach. Instead, move the ladder. Never stand on the top of a stepladder unless it has a work platform. Never use the top half of an extension ladder by itself as a straight ladder. Only one person should be on any one ladder at one time. Under no circumstances should you climb on materials, concrete blocks, pavers, crates, boxes or chairs, and of course, never climb on machinery. Do not operate, adjust, or repair any saw, grinder, press, drill, or other piece of equipment or machinery unless you have been authorized to do so. Before you turn a machine on, be sure that all guards and safety devices are in place and properly adjusted. Do not make safety equipment inoperative. Repair work will not be permitted on any power-operated machinery or equipment until the power source has been shut off and locked out. This must be done in accordance with the lockout-tagout program, which we will discuss next. The lockout-tagout program reduces the employee's exposure to hazardous energy sources, such as mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, chemical, or thermal. By isolating equipment from energy sources and rendering the equipment inoperative prior to servicing, the employee will be protected from the unexpected startup or release of stored energy that could cause injury. There are a number of terms used in the lockout-tagout program. Here are a few definitions. The term affected employee refers to the person that works with the machinery that will be affected by a shutdown. The affected employee does not perform the service work. The authorized employee is the one who actually performs the service and maintenance. Machinery is considered energized when connected to an energy source, or the machinery contains residual or stored energy. An energy isolating device is a mechanical device that physically prevents the release or transmission of energy. An energy source can be electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, chemical, or thermal. A lockout is the placement of a lockout device that ensures machinery cannot be operated until the device is removed. A lockout device is any object such as a lock that prevents the energizing of machinery. Now that you understand some of the terminology, here is a quick rundown of the energy control procedure for the mixer. Remember, the lockout of machinery will only be carried out by authorized employees. Notify all affected employees that a lockout of machinery will be taking place. Pull disconnect switch on power panel to off position. Lock, tag, and place key in pocket and attempt to start machinery. The lockout device will be fitted with a warning tag describing who placed the lock on the machinery, and the lockout device key will remain in the possession of the employee locking out the affected machinery. Pull disconnect switch on transfer conveyor. Before entering mixer or working on it, hit the start button to ensure that the power has been shut off. Lockout devices are required to be durable, standardized, substantial, and identifiable. If you have any questions about lockout, tagout procedures, ask your supervisor. Material safety data sheets provide you with the knowledge of contents, first aid instructions, and use of certain materials and chemicals. MSDS books are located at each workplace building in a central location. They are clearly marked, and each employee should know where to find it and how to use it. When working in our plant, you will be expected to use and maintain your personal protective equipment. In manufacturing and distribution areas, safety glasses must be worn at all times. For those tasks where there is exposure to flying objects from the side shields are recommended. Employees are required to wear full face shield and safety glasses when engaging in grinding, chipping, drilling, buffing, sanding, sawing, or handling hot or corrosive liquids. Steel-toe shoes must be worn at all times in manufacturing and distribution areas. All employees are required to wear gloves when handling rough, sharp, abrasive, corrosive, or hot materials. Hard hats must be worn at all times in manufacturing and distribution areas. In manufacturing areas, employees must wear hearing protection at all times. In addition, employees entering into these areas for non-routine tasks must also wear hearing protection. You will be advised by your supervisor when respiratory protection is required to be worn. Do not wear rings, earrings, or other loose jewelry, gloves, or loose clothing around revolving machinery. Shirt tails are to be tucked in at all times. Such items can be easily caught in revolving machinery and may result in serious injury. Long hair should be tied back. In some cases, there are routine or unusual work assignments that require personal protective equipment not covered in this video. Your supervisor will determine the need for additional personal protective equipment. If you see a fire, immediately dial 911 or the local emergency number. If you've been trained in how to use a fire extinguisher, then you can, at your discretion, use a fire extinguisher to extinguish the fire. Report all fire hazards to your supervisor. Become familiar with the location of all facility fire extinguishers. Familiarize yourself with the PASS principle for fire extinguishers. P, pull the pin. A, aim. S, squeeze. S, sweep. Immediately report the partial or complete discharge of a fire extinguisher to your supervisor. Only trained and authorized operators are permitted to operate forklifts, and no riders are allowed. Forklifts are not to be driven up to anyone standing in front of a fixed object. No person is allowed to stand or pass under the elevated portion of a forklift, whether it is loaded or empty. Arms and legs should not be placed between the uprights of the mast or outside the running lines of the forklift. A safe platform firmly secured to the lifting carriage or forks must be used when lifting personnel with a forklift. Railroad tracks must be crossed diagonally whenever possible. When ascending or descending grades in excess of 10 degrees, forklifts must be driven with the load upgrade. On all grades, the load and engaging means must be tilted back and raised only as far as necessary to clear the road or floor surface. Only stable and safely arranged loads shall be handled with forklifts. All loads being handled must be within the rated capacity of the lift truck. Brakes shall be set and the wheels blocked in place to prevent the movement of trucks and trailers while loading or unloading with a forklift on a dock. Proper trailer unloading procedures are to chock both the right and left trailer wheels. Inspect the deck for missing, broken, or rotted boards. Properly position and use the deck plate. When leaving a forklift unattended, that is, being more than 25 feet away, or the forklift is not in your sight, the forks are to be fully lowered, controls are to be neutralized, power shut off, and brakes set. Forklifts are to be driven at a safe operating speed for each specific situation. All forklift operators are to slow down and sound horn at all cross aisles and other locations where vision is obstructed. The operator must always face the direction in which the truck is traveling. If the load being carried obstructs the forward view, the operator must travel with the load trailing. At any time a forklift is found to be unsafe, the truck must be taken out of service until it has been restored to a safe operating condition. All such conditions must be immediately reported to your supervisor. Smoking while refueling is prohibited. And of course, absolutely no stunt driving or horseplay, and slow down during wet or slippery conditions. Block plants are equipped with automatic machinery which operates by itself. Use extreme caution. Be alert for motors, belts, gates, conveyors, and other machines starting by themselves. Stand clear of all equipment that might move, and do not touch any machinery, even when not running. It may start any time. Remember, safety pays. It might save your life. At no time should anyone make adjustments on a machine while it's in automation or in motion. Always check to see that the power is turned off or it is out of automatic for any attempt to clear any malfunction. On hydraulic block machines, before attempting to change molds, you should turn off the master control valve so that only a small amount of oil is allowed to go through the lines, allowing only slow movement of the machine. When possible, there should be 2 people working together when changing molds or doing maintenance. Do not throw on main or panel disconnects without first closing doors on the electrical boxes or panels. Always block or chain the compression beam in the up position before reaching under the stripper head. As with all equipment startups, always check and double check to be sure no tools, bars, or other equipment are left on the machine or in the mixer before machines are started. No person shall enter into a silo or bin without following the procedures for entry into a permit-required confined space. No batch mixer should be operated unless it has the safety grid over the mixer and the guards over the belt and gears. When it is necessary to get inside the mixer for cleaning or maintenance, the main disconnect must be pulled to the off position and be locked with a lock bearing the identification of the employee entering the mixer. The person doing the cleanup should have the key in their pocket. If the material handling system is not interlocked to the main disconnect for the mixer, then an additional lockout must take place at the material handling system. This will prevent material from being batched into the mixer. Never climb over or walk on a conveyor. Crossovers are provided for this. Never make repairs or adjustments on a moving conveyor. It must be locked out. All gates or guards must be in place before the skip hoist is in motion. When repairing the skip hoist, follow the lockout tagout procedures. At no time will a person enter the skip pit until the safety stops are in place. Be sure to either lock or block the skip bucket in raised position while cleaning the skip bucket pit. At no time should anybody reach or step into the cuber without first dropping the safety hooks into place and double checking to be sure that they are holding. When operating the cuber, you should stand in the area designated by the manufacturer and should not try to operate at any other position other than that specified. Before changing the pads or the tips, the clamp turnover should be put in the manual position and locked out, following the facility's lockout-tagout procedures. The manufacturer-supplied guards should be put back in place after repairs before the equipment is turned back into automatic. Most block splitters are designed with a guillotine-type head, which has sharp splitting blades attached. This is a piece of equipment that should be operated by somebody who has been thoroughly instructed in its operation and adjustment. When adjustments are being made, the splitter should be in manual position. Keep hands away from the conveyor while it's in motion. Do not cross or climb on a rack conveyor. Walkways and/or crossovers are provided for your use. Never step between loader and unloader and the rack unless the machinery is completely locked out. Each hoist shall have its rated load marked on it, or its load block, and this marking shall be clearly legible from the ground or floor. The hoist chain or hoist rope shall be free from kinks or twists and shall not be wrapped around the load. When using the chain hoist, the operator shall never be located between the load and wall or any other immovable object. Only trained and authorized personnel shall operate hoists. Blocks must never be removed from pallet inside the depalleting area. Keep hands and arms out of pushing area. Be sure proper guarding is in place for all pinch, catch, shear, squeeze, and nip points. Do not enter the strapper with the main power on. If entrance to the machine is required for servicing, the main disconnect should be switched to the off position and locked out until service is completed. The main air valve must be closed and all pressure bled off. Whenever routine service such as cleaning or greasing the machine is performed, the machine must be shut off as described in the first step. All guards removed for servicing must be replaced before the power is turned on. Turning the switch to the off position does not render the strappers safe. Before entering the product passage area, consult the strapper manual for safety procedures required to ensure no cube will be discharged while servicing is taking place. The driver and vehicle are perhaps the most visible part of this company to the public. We feel that a fleet safety program is essential to assure safe vehicles and well-trained defensive drivers. Remember, the driver's safety, the public safety, and potentially the reputation of the company are in the hands of our drivers when they are on the road. Make the 3 C's of driving your habits: caution, compliance, courtesy. Know and obey facility safety rules, federal and state safety regulations, and follow safe driving practices. Proper vehicle inspections need to be performed daily. Know your facility's accident reporting procedures. Do not move truck while unloader is not secure or dump box is in an up position. All drivers must wear hard hats, safety glasses, and steel-toed shoes in the yard and on the job site while unloading. All loads on trucks shall be stable and secure. If you have outriggers, then put them down before lifting the load. Make certain outriggers are on a firm footing. Make certain there are no power lines near where the boom will be working. Don't put cubes of block on scaffolding. Inspect cables daily for signs of wear and replace them if they are starting to fray. Try to unload on as level a spot as possible. Try to unload off the rear end of the truck rather than the side if possible. Don't stand under a cube of blocks that is being unloaded. Know all your clearance dimensions. Do not ride forks or loaded forks at any time. Before we close, let's review some of the situations where employees were engaged in unsafe activities and not wearing personal protective equipment properly. How many of these were you able to spot? You may have noticed several scenes where employees did not have proper protective eyewear. Safety glasses protect the eyes from impact from flying objects and debris or the splashing of liquids. Remember, safety glasses must be worn in all manufacturing and distribution areas. In addition, all welders are required to wear shaded number 2 safety glasses under their welding helmet to protect against flash burns. How about this scene where improper lifting techniques were used? When you are lifting by yourself, use your legs, not your back. Stand close to the load with feet apart and your knees bent. Get a firm grip. Keep your back as straight as possible, lifting slowly and letting your muscles do the work. Avoid jerking or sudden movement, and don't twist or bend at the waist. And finally, a word on proper use of hard hats. Hard hats meet the American National Standards Institute standard requirements for industrial head protection. ANSI only tests and certifies hard hats worn with the bill forward. Therefore, hard hats with the bill worn to the rear would not be considered reliable protection unless the hard hat manufacturer certifies that this practice meets the ANSI requirements. We appreciate your time and attention in watching this video. As we mentioned at the start of the program, all employees are expected to follow common sense safety practices which will protect themselves and others from injury. Nobody wants to be injured on the job. Help maintain safe working conditions and promote safe work practices among fellow employees. Think safety. Remember, each employee makes his greatest contribution to the safety of all employees by setting the safety example.